The basketball thumped against the cracked pavement, each bounce a heartbeat in the quiet of my suburban backyard. I was alone, or so I thought, until the gate creaked and my neighbor, Ethan, stepped through, his shadow falling like a secret I wasn't ready to hear. What he did next would unravel my world, stitch it back together, and leave me trembling with a truth I never saw coming. It was a humid June evening in our small Ohio town, the kind where the air clung to your skin like a second shirt. I was 18, lanky, with a mop of blonde hair and a life planned out, college, basketball scholarship, maybe a girlfriend to make my parents proud. That's what you did in places like this, followed the script. My backyard hoop was my sanctuary, where I could drown out the noise of expectation with the rhythm of dribbles and shots. But that night, Ethan changed the rhythm. He was new to the neighborhood, a year older, with pale blue eyes that seemed to see through walls. His family moved into the house next door a month ago, and I'd only caught glimpses of him, mowing the lawn, carrying boxes, always with earbuds in like he was guarding a private world. People whispered about him at church. Quiet boy, they said, keeps to himself. In a town where everyone knew your business, that was a crime. I didn't care much for gossip, but I noticed him. Hard not to. He had this way of moving, deliberate, like every step was a choice. Mind if I join? Ethan's voice was soft but steady, cutting through the hum of cicadas. He stood at the edge of my makeshift court, hands in his pockets, wearing a faded gray t-shirt and jeans that looked too warm for the heat. I froze, ball tucked under my arm, caught off guard by his presence. Nobody ever came over uninvited. Not here. Sure, I said, tossing him the ball. My voice cracked, betraying the nerves I didn't know I had. He caught it with ease, his fingers brushing the leather like he'd done this 1,000 times. We played one-on-one. No words, just the squeak of sneakers and the clang of the rim. He was good, better than I expected, moving with a grace that made my practice shots look clumsy. But it wasn't the game that unnerved me. It was the way he looked at me, not just seeing me, but seeing me like he knew something I hadn't told myself. After 20 minutes, we were both sweating, the score tied. He sank a three-pointer, and I laughed, more from relief than amusement. Where'd you learn to shoot like that? I asked, wiping my forehead. Back in Chicago, he said, spinning the ball on his finger. Played a lot. Helps me think. Think about what? I didn't know why I asked. Maybe because the silence between shots felt heavy, like it was waiting for something. He shrugged, but his eyes didn't leave mine. Stuff. Life. Who I am. He paused, then added, who I want to be. The words hung there, simple but loaded. I didn't know what to say, so I grabbed the ball and took a shot. It missed. Badly. Ethan chuckled, and for the first time, I noticed a dimple on his left cheek. It made my chest tighten, and I didn't know why. We sat on the grass after, catching our breath. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky in shades of peach and gold. I expected him to leave, but he stayed, leaning back on his elbows, staring at the clouds like they held answers. You ever feel like you're hiding something? He asked suddenly. I froze. My heart thudded, not from the game, but from the question. What do you mean? I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. He turned his head, his gaze piercing, like there's a part of you nobody knows. Not your parents, not your friends. And you're scared if they find out, everything changes. I wanted to laugh it off, to say something cool and casual, but my throat felt tight. I'd spent years shoving down thoughts I didn't dare name. Feelings that flickered when I saw certain guys at school. The kind of thoughts that didn't belong in a place like this. I was Jack Harper, the good kid, the team captain, the one who followed the rules. But Ethan's words cracked something open, and I wasn't ready for what spilled out. I don't know, I lied, picking at the grass. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. He handed it to me, his fingers brushing mine. The touch sent a jolt through me, like static electricity, but deeper. I unfolded the paper. It was a sketch, pencil on notebook paper, of two hands intertwined. One was clearly his, long fingers, a scar across the knuckles. The other could have been anyone's, but I knew, somehow, it was meant to be mine. I drew this last night, he said quietly, after I saw you out here. My breath caught. The sketch was simple but intimate, like he'd captured a moment that hadn't happened yet. I wanted to say something, anything, but my mind was a tangle of fear and want. I handed it back, my hands shaking. Why me? I asked, barely audible. Because you're not like everyone else here, he said. You're real. The word hit me like a punch. Real. I'd spent so long pretending, hiding, that I didn't know what real felt like anymore. But sitting there with Ethan's sketch burning a hole in my thoughts, I felt it, a spark of something true, terrifying, and alive. That night, I couldn't sleep. Ethan's words, his sketch, the way his eyes held mine, they haunted me. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what it meant to be real. And why, for the first time, I want to find out. The next morning, I saw Ethan through my bedroom window, sitting on his porch with a book. He looked up, like he knew I was watching, and waved. I waved back, my heart racing. It was just a wave, but it felt like a promise. At school, I couldn't focus. My friends noticed, ribbing me about being distracted. What's up, Harper? Got a crush. They laughed, but I felt sick. If anyone knew, what would happen? This was Ohio, not some big city where people didn't care. My parents, my coach, my church, they'd all have something to say, and none of it would be kind. But Ethan was different. He didn't push, didn't pry. After school, he showed up at my court again, basketball in hand. Rematch, he asked, grinning. We played, but it wasn't just a game anymore. Every brush of his arm, every glance felt charged. When we finished, he sat closer this time, our knees almost touching. You didn't answer my question yesterday, he said. I swallowed hard. About hiding? He nodded. You don't have to tell me. But if you want to, I'm here. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I asked, why'd you move here? His smile faded. My dad got a job. But also I needed a fresh start. Back in Chicago, I came out. Didn't go well. The air felt heavier. Came out. I repeated, like I didn't understand. I'm gay, Jack, he said, his voice steady but soft. I thought you should know. The world tilted. Not because of what he said, but because of how it made me feel, relieved like I wasn't alone. But also terrified, because now it was real. I didn't say anything, just nodded, my mind screaming with questions I couldn't ask. That night, I found a sketch he'd given me, tucked under my pillow. I traced the lines of those hands, wondering what it would feel like to hold his. The thought scared me, but it also felt right, like a piece of me I'd been missing. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan became a constant. We played basketball, talked about music, movies, anything but the truth hanging between us. But every moment with him felt like a step towards something I couldn't name. One night, under the stars in my backyard, he kissed me. It was quick, tentative, but set my world on fire. I pulled back, not because I didn't want it, but because I was drowning in fear. I'm sorry, he said, stepping away. I thought. No. I interrupted, my voice shaking. It's not you. It's me. I don't know what I am. He looked at me, not with pity, but with understanding. You don't have to know yet. But when you do, I'll still be here. That kiss broke something in me, but it also built something new. I started questioning everything. My faith, my family, the life I'd been taught to want. Ethan was patient, never pushing, but his presence was a mirror I couldn't ignore. I saw myself in him, the parts I'd buried deep. One Sunday, my dad saw us laughing together in the driveway. That boy's trouble, he said later, his voice low. Stay away from him, Jack. I didn't listen. I couldn't. Ethan was the only thing that made sense. The summer ended, and with it came a reckoning. Someone at school saw us together, too close, too comfortable. Rumors spread like wildfire. My teammates started avoiding me, their jokes turning sharp. My parents asked questions I couldn't answer. The town, once a safe haven, felt like a cage. One night, I found Ethan at the court, his face bruised. Some guys from school, he said, shrugging it off. They don't like me much. Rage boiled in me, but so did guilt. I'd been hiding, letting him take the brunt of it. I'm sorry, I said, my voice breaking. This is my fault. No, he said, grabbing my hand. It's not. But you need to decide, Jack. Who are you going to be? That night, I made a choice. I told my parents. It was messy, tearful, angry. They didn't understand. Not yet, but I couldn't keep pretending. I was tired of hiding. Years later, I look back on that summer and see it as the moment I became myself. Ethan and I didn't stay together. Life pulled us in different directions, but his courage gave me mine. I came out, faced the whispers, the rejection, and found a community that loved me for me. The basketball court is still there, a reminder of the boy who changed everything. What Ethan did that night, stepping into my world, seeing me, loving me, still shakes me today. Not because it was shocking, but because it was true. In a world that demanded I hide, he showed me how to live.